It's 9:48 and it's the 11th of June, and as usual, I'm waking up to circumstances and conditions in County Kerry that are offensive and that are rude and that have meant that people that have coveted from my birthrights, people that are coveting from my identity and insulting their own parents, I think, really, at the end of the day, these people that have an issue with their identity and that have offended my child's beginnings in life have not understood the extent of disharmony that they're after setting in motion. They've caused an awful amount of disharmony, and they've disrespected life, they've disrespected human life, they've disrespected Salem. And that's really offensive. That's really not helpful, that they have not understood that they have not ever had right or remit, and they have disrespected again, yet again, they've disrespected faith, family, and fellowship with fraud. And it's really quite serious that these people think that they have the powers to offend Salem when they have not respected Salem at all, at all. It's really serious. So, as I've said, my child has been experiencing these people as suppose my child has experienced spiritual violence in society, and there are people that are in my proximity that have prospered from my purpose and that are disrespecting me, and that unfortunately is not supported. People that have been making short-term gains and shaming society with a sham situation are really not understanding how I feel about this situation. There's a hierarchy, and some people are more qualified than others. Some people have more to their portfolio than other people. I have to reiterate that my portfolio has been of recovery advocacy, humanitarianism. It has saved people's lives, it has saved people's wealth, and my recovery advocacy has reformed society. So I'm tolerating thuggery of people that are blasphemy, and they're really not safe already after offending my child. And I'm really concerned about their faith practices, because they've already been reprimanded for their poor faith practices, and they've already been of very dangerous debt evasion from what they owe to my name personally. Now, I'm living in circumstances where I am healing, and I'm doing this on my own on 200 job seekers allowance. I receive job seekers allowance, and there are dirty thugs in society offending Salem, thinking it's an amusing situation. She's in poverty, we're on her property, and we have her child. Well, what a fantastic situation. Unfortunately, these people forget that they're not out of the woods. Anyone that's seen anything that's been happening in County Kerry, oh dear God, goodness, they have a short-term memory. They must be suffering from amnesia. These people are hilarious. They're not out of the woods by any means of the imagination within just a very short period of time. They still have a very dangerous debt that they have to meet with me personally. They owe me so much, it's so scary. But yeah, the child that I witnessed yesterday, my son that I gave birth to, as long as he's out of my care, that's going to be a problem for people's families. And as long as people don't fulfill their obligations, you know, when people don't do what they're supposed to be doing, that's how people incur problems. So there are individuals that are not fulfilling their obligations, that are spending money that I don't like them spending when it's a debt that they owe me. It's not safe for them to be spending anything when they have a debt that they owe me for defame of my name since 2006. It's really unsafe. That they've disrespected the Hippocratic Oath, that's another kind of serious problem. So those people that are deluded, that are silly enough to think that they're out of the woods in such a short space of time after having a face change or a name change or an address change, dodging the bullet or dodging the debt or whatever they describe it as, these people are putting the Garda Síochána at risk again. So that's a sad sign of the times, but I'm amused because of the simple fact that Salem is a very powerful faith, and there are amateurs and rookies and children of, or adults with children that are offending Salem, and the Catholic Church, and so on and so forth. So those people that think it's funny spending my money, I don't know if you know how I feel about that. The Garda Síochána that know where my child is, and that haven't restored my child, or that have brought my child into my care, where my child is legally meant to be, anyone that's facilitating any of these crimes, then all of the prosperity and progress that's originated from my purpose, you know how it is, the scales of justice always call and balance themselves out. So there wouldn't want to be anyone trying to be smart, challenging the laws that be. Nature has a funny way of teaching us lessons, and as I have my spiritual purpose intact, that hasn't been in any way. Oh dear God, there are people that have been deluding themselves with their spiritual practices. They really aren't safe with Salem anyway, that's a fact. They've disrespected every law of Salem, Catholicism, Protestantism, and so on and so forth. So those that are misunderstanding the situation, that are still doing their voodoo, oh dear God, it's a sad sign of the times. It really is. So it would be in the best interests of the Garda Síochána's families that the authorities not continue to assist the dirty situation that shams of awful shindigs in society have been causing in this country for the past 20 years on other people's money. Nothing worse than stolen wealth. Nothing worse than spending money that you don't own. And there's nothing worse than Salem being disrespected as well, especially if you're considering yourself of that collective. So those people that have offended their own parents' identities, imposing upon my identity and my birthrights, might be very careful about their obligations that they owe to my life and the obligations that they owe to my child. Unlawful care orders are very dangerous documents with regard to royal protocol. Anyone working with unlawful care orders of the Tusla Child and Family Agency and Coleman, Kelleher and Tobin, any unlawful documents that are being supported are very unsafe for those people. So anyone threatening the peace or threatening the progress or social reform or anything that's happened are putting themselves at high risk. Any reform that has originated from me will be regressed and be damaged automatically. I do not support crimes against my good name, character, or my contributions to society. So anyone that's exploiting from me, anyone that's been monetizing from me, unfortunately, there is an issue for those that are guilty. So justice calls, justice has already called, but yet again, there's still unlawful care orders. And there are still issues around ASBOs in society thinking they've control over a child I gave birth to, and they aren't within right or remit with royalty. So I hope everyone's been careful about the Salem issue that's happening. Those that have obligations to my birthrights or my royal patronage, I think it would be in the best interest for intruders that are around my proximity, that shouldn't be in my proximity. I think they need to start thinking properly. I think they need mental health treatment. This has been happening 20 years now in County Kerry. So anyone working with ASBOs is pushing themselves at risk. There have been people hurt already. There have already been casualties. So anyone that has been of bad faith practices really need to remove themselves. And people making false claims about people's mental health. I'm a fully competent and capable recovery advocate on behalf of narcotics fellowships and alcoholic. I have worked with addicts. It's not safe for mentally disturbed ASBOs to be making very dangerous comments about death by suicide. They have used the term committing suicide. It's actually death by suicide. So they'd want to use the proper terminology first and foremost. And second of most, they'd want to be very careful about discussing or breaching confidentiality, loose lips and all of that, and sinking ships. They've sunk a few ships already, and it's quite dangerous what I'm tolerating. So I'm a qualified professional. I'm tolerating nonsense, and anyone that's working with nonsense, you know what happens. So we've seen it already. It's been a skit in County Kerry. There circumstances and conditions that can't be renegotiated with women's anatomies. I'm aware that there have been people bargaining themselves out of bad problems with the female anatomy being pushed, as a pawn on the table. Unfortunately, not with royal protocol or with my purpose of what my contributions have been to society. So those that have been renegotiating the conditions or terms around the problems they've been making, not in the circumstances where they have been reaping and prospering and monetizing from my humanitarian contributions to society. People offending Salem need to give up. They need to quit. Those that are walking onto my property need to know that that's a punishable crime. Those that are withholding my child illegally have to know that they're putting the children of the Garda Síochána, unfortunately, at high risk. The Garda Síochána being offended again in any criminality, anyone that is obstructing my child from my care, to the Child and Family Agency have no lawful care order with royal protocol. So everyone needs to work with the reality and the facts. And I think with regard to all that's happened so far this morning, I'm experiencing crime. I've been of crime prevention. There are still liabilities in society. I hope I'm making my message loud and clear. Mental health is needed to assist ASBOs in treating their imposter syndrome. There are people of intrusion in my proximity that are really making themselves unsafe. So if those imposters, intruders, trespassers that are in my proximity, if they're not removed, the children of the Garda Síochána are at risk. If my child isn't located, it's the children of the Garda Síochána that will be punished, penalised for royal protocol of my royal titles being disrespected in a country that owes me a very dangerous debt. It's very simple.